Are you the kind of Helldiver who likes to jump headlong into the fray of battle, or assert your dominance by casually dispatching the enemies of freedom? Perhaps you just wish you had that extra bit of protection to line up those shots. Well, the Ballistic Shield has you covered. For a long time, I never used this stratagem since taking it meant you had one less offensive stratagem that you could bring. But after trying it out, I learned that it can solve a very big problem when fighting against the automatons. Every experienced Helldiver is very familiar with getting caught in a barrage of gunfire when fighting against the automatons, and it seems the only thing you do in that situation is to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge to try and find some cover, or you're trying to aim and a single laser sadly spares that automaton from experiencing freedom and democracy. As it turns out, the Ballistic Shield is top tier when protecting you against this gunfire, and allows you to stamp to the automatons in ways you never could without it. But Renegade Tom, you studly Chad of democracy, I hear you say. What about when crap hits the fan, they bring a whole lot more than just gunfire?
Oh lord, here comes the drama.
Well, fellow friends of liberty, what if I told you not only is there a solution to that problem, but also that the Ballistic Shield is essential to creating a build that counters every single thing the automatons can throw at you. So if that interests you, this is how you get good with the Ballistic Shield.
Get some! Get some!
Let's first lay the groundwork by talking about what the Ballistic Shield is and why it's in your arsenal to begin with. Now, I thought this would allow you to build a tank build. So I threw on some heavy armor, a quasar, shield relay, and I thought this would allow me to stay on the front lines and aggro the enemy while my teammates could continue to fire from a safe place. Unfortunately, this does violate the spirit of the game where you are a glass cannon. So the Ballistic Shield did do a lot of work when enemies were shooting with ballistics from one direction, but as soon as they surround you or you come into contact with explosives or cannon fire or melee damage, it won't help you against any of that. So I quickly realized a tank build is not what this is for. Instead, it's designed to be mobile cover, so it uniquely enhances a fast-moving and aggressive playstyle, giving you more options to push against the enemy and hold your ground. Compare that to the Energy Shield, which gives you a temporary layer of protection so you can more easily retreat to a safer position. You can then see how these two shields are meant for different strategies altogether. So long as you have the Ballistic Shield on your person in any capacity, it is always providing cover. So the first step in getting good with the Ballistic Shield is knowing how to move to keep that shield between you and the enemy so you can maintain control of where that cover is at. While moving, the universal rule is to always be moving to your right. So long as you're moving to your right, you're going to keep that shield between you and the enemy. And the same goes for when you're retreating as well. If you're retreating and you move towards your right while doing that, you're going to hold the shield behind you, and then you can also use that submachine gun to continue to lay down suppressive fire or to take something out without having to stop. If you really need to retreat, you can switch to your support weapon, which will put the shield on your back and give you about 65% coverage as you try to find new ground. And this really comes in handy when you become overwhelmed all of a sudden and you've got to reposition very quickly. If your support weapon needs to be reloaded, it's also a great way to give yourself some cover if you're prone on the ground. Most of the time though, you're going to want to stay on your feet, and the coverage it provides while doing that is going to be really good. So long as they're directly in front of you, that's about 95% plus coverage. So it's very unlikely they're going to be able to hit you at all, so just prevent them from flanking around you and there shouldn't be any issue there. You can also zoom into first person as well, which most of the time isn't going to be helpful because it cuts out your peripheral, but it can help you line up a shot sometimes if it's kind of hard to see where that green laser's at. So I use this sometimes, which can be really nice. With that out of the way, let's talk about what the shield can't handle and how to get around it.
10 seconds, clear landing zone.
Dude, this man falling back.
Few things will make you more intimate with ragdoll mechanics than rocket hulks and devastators. This is where the usefulness of the shield ends and requires a good build that can complement the weaknesses of the shield, and the shield can complement the weaknesses of those other supporting weapons. So having the right build is absolutely essential to getting good with the Ballistic Shield. Through my extensive testing of the different builds, I was looking for two things. A, it had to counter rocket hulks, devastators, cannons, flamethrowers, melee, you name it, and it had to take care of those things very quickly so you could get back to switching to the Ballistic Shield and working on all the rest of the enemies. Starting with the primary, the Knight didn't seem to have any real advantages over the Defender. In addition to that, a lack of a laser pointer was a real loss, especially when using that shield. For a good secondary, it was really between the last pistol and the grenade pistol, and the last pistol was nice in the sense that you didn't have to have ammunition for it, but it didn't really solve any additional problems that your Defender couldn't already solve. The grenade pistol really became the best secondary option just because it allows you to do so much more with your build. You can counter those two-legged walkers with ease with it. You can also take out factories from a distance, and it frees up your ability to carry stun grenades. And the stun grenades are key for this build. They allow you to slow down the enemy so you can outmaneuver them, gives you some time to use your stratagems, or even lock up important enemies so you can take them out. For the support weapon, the railgun was too slow for what I needed to do. The grenade launcher was fun, but it was very imprecise at taking out the key targets I needed to take care of. The AMR was really promising. It could take care of everything I needed to take care of: rocket devastators, hulks, towers, tanks if you could see the vents, and in addition to that, you could do it from very far away, and it hit really hard, so you could take them out fairly quickly. Unfortunately, it just became one too many weapons to have to keep up with the ammunition for. With this build, you have to be able to switch between things very quickly in order to counter everything that's on the field, and with the AMR, it has a limited amount of ammunition. You can run out very quickly, especially when you're putting in a lot of work, which eventually slowed me down and made this build less effective. Just when I thought I wouldn't be able to make this build any better, that's when the solution found me. The laser cannon. Turns out it can do everything the AMR can do, maybe a little less quickly than it can, but with those stun grenades, it really doesn't matter at that point, and you don't have to manage a bunch of ammunition. It's very easy to aim, and also very easy to use for both long distance and short distance. So as you can see, my strategy against rocket devastators isn't to aim for their eye. I can take care of that with a Defender, no problem. All I'm trying to do is convert them from a rocket devastator to a pistol devastator, and it works really well for that. For hulks, it's an easy 1-2 punch. You throw a stun grenade and it gives you plenty of time to then take them out with that laser cannon. If you run into a gunship factory, no problem, because the laser cannon rips these gunships out of the air with ruthless efficiency. If you run into anything that has vents on it, such as mortars, towers, or tanks, then you use the shield to try and maneuver and get into the best position so that you can then use the laser cannon on those vents. And I gotta say, it really rips through these vents very quickly. And the best part is you don't have to reload even once. If there's charging berserkers, you can save on ammunition by switching over to your laser cannon and firing at their hip, and you don't even have to aim. You just hold it down and that should fire around that red light area at their midsection, and that's a very efficient way of taking them out. The laser cannon can also counter the biggest thing the automatons can throw at you, and that's those factory striders. All you have to do is use the laser cannon to destroy those mounted machine guns on its chin, and then you get into position close enough to where you can shoot at its underbelly, and it really doesn't take that long for the laser cannon to take one down. The armor I really recommend is the CE07 Demolition Specialist, and that's because it gives you those extra grenades and increased accuracy on your support weapon when you're crouched or laying down. But so long as you're wearing light armor that makes you quick, you should still be able to use this build very effectively. Now that you have the right build, let's quickly go over the advanced infantry tactics you need to know when getting good with the Ballistic Shield. First, you always approach with an exit plan to your right. The reason for this is simple. You want to be able to run to your right if you're in trouble, because that's going to allow you to use the shield to protect yourself in that situation. It can also allow you to strafe around an objective without having to retreat. Second is that you always want to be looking for anything that can counter your shield: rockets, hulks, and anything with a cannon on it. Once you've identified it, you switch to the appropriate weapon, you take it out, and then you continue the fight. And the third one is how to use your stun grenades. They are the great equalizer on the battlefield, especially if you're going to solo on Helldive difficulty like I'm doing right here. The stun grenades really control the flow of battle. They're going to outnumber you, they're going to try and outflank you, they're going to try and snipe you out with rockets or hit you with hulks. The thing the stun grenades do is it controls everything and it equalizes the entire battlefield for you so that you can deal with them at your pace and not theirs. And with that, I just have a few important tips and tricks that I want to share with you guys. But before I do, I just want to ask that if you enjoyed the video and you found the information helpful, that you would consider giving a like and subscribe. It really helps us spread managed democracy on this channel, and we would love to have you on board. I'm exclusively making Helldivers videos on this channel for the foreseeable future, so that is what you would be subscribing to. With that said, let's move on to the tips and tricks. Be careful of cannons. Of course, if it hits your shield directly, it's going to destroy it, but even if it just gets near you, it still, for whatever reason, destroys the shield and forces you to drop it. Not sure if this is a glitch, but it's happening. When picking up the SSD hard drive, if you go to pick it up while the shield is still on your arm, it's going to cause you to drop the shield. But if you switch to your support weapon to put the shield on your back, you can pick up that SSD hard drive no problem, and the game will automatically switch over your defender, and so you can keep your shield with you. Right now, there's a potential bug in the game involving stem. So used to, you could stem and keep your shield up, but now when you stem, you automatically put your shield on your back. You can use this to your advantage by only stemming when you're ready to retreat, or when you do stem, just automatically turn away from the enemy and you can switch back to your primary weapon. And finally, when using the ballistic shield against the Terminids, don't. As an added bonus, I did discover that laser cannon can off the wings of these flyers very quickly, so that was a lot of fun. But yeah, don't bring the ballistic shield. It's not going to help you against the Terminids. So if you want to counter everything the automatons can throw at you with style and efficiency, pick up your ballistic shield today and get good.